Hello everyone, this is Zooc, and today I'm going to be drawing Lady Sylvanas Windrunner, the Queen of the Forsaken, the Dark Lady, Mistress Sylvana of the Banshees, Sylvanas the Banshee Queen. She has like a million names, it doesn't matter. You all know her. Well, I hope you do, at least most of you. Anyway, this is my first female character. I've never done a female before. Well, I have, just not on paper. She was not as challenging as I thought she would be, but there was one thing about her that absolutely drove me crazy, and it was nobody's fault but mine. I'm very much aware of that, and in time that issue will disappear, but I'm not going to approach it now because we're nowhere near that point. So it's later on where I'm pulling my hair out. In any case, I wasn't feeling very inspired today, plus I'm sick of drawing like super bulky muscular characters. People have been literally begging me to draw a female, at least something somewhat attractive, and lay off the whole mean juggernaut characters. Although those are fun, they're enjoyable to draw up to a certain point. I wanted to draw the Hulk today, but I figured since I just did Bane, which basically sort of looks almost the same, it would be kind of lame of me to draw something too similar looking. In any case, Lady Sylvanas Windrunner, a little bit of background information, as I usually like to give. She is one of the most important characters in Warcraft and World of Warcraft. And for those of you that don't follow the lore, I personally am not super crazy about the lore, but I've read all the books about Warcraft, especially the ones written by Richard Knack. He's a really good writer. I really like his style, and I recommend them to anyone that likes fantasy literature. I don't know how many people read nowadays, but I found them quite relaxing. Anyway, Lady Sylvanas. She used to be Ranger General of the High Elf Kingdom of Quel'Thalas. She was the one that fought against Arthas when he invaded Quel'Thalas. He was planning to destroy Silvermoon, which he eventually achieved. But during the invasion of Quel'Thalas, she was wounded, and Arthas, instead of letting her die, converted her to undeath, so to say, made her his personal slave. In time, however, she regained her free will, and with a handful of forces managed to escape from Arthas, and fled to Lordaeron, where she defeated 2 dreadlords. There were 3 dreadlords occupying Lordaeron, and she defeated 2 and enslaved the 3rd, which you can find in her throne room in World of Warcraft now in Undercity. His name is Varimarthas. So she founded the kingdom, or the queendom of the Forsaken, with her as ruler. She is one of the 4 leaders, and her qualities, lore-wise, include extreme precision with a bow and arrow. She is a very good military strategist, according to my resources. So she's a pretty awesome chick, and she's like hot, but most females in this world are like super hot anyway, so that's besides the point. But yeah, she's known for her bow and arrow. She was a hero in Dota, and I think she still is a hero in Han. Yeah, and she was inspiration for another hero in League of Legends. I'm sure you all know about her. So she's all over the place, really all over the place. And she's a pretty interesting character because she's undead, but she's one of the good guys, so she's okay. Now, a little bit about the drawing. As I said, this was my first female, and what I found most challenging was the face. By far, the female face absolutely drove me insane. And it's not even that hard to draw. Like, for the guys that want to draw females, your best source of inspiration are comic books. Comic book artists generally have a very good idea of how to draw females, because that's how they get nerds to buy the comic. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, it is actually. That's how it is. Other than the superheroes, the girls are usually the second best reason to buy a comic, if you're into that sort of thing. But yeah, comic book artists, there are many books out there that I've skimmed through about how to draw female characters in a comic book style and like comic book anatomy. And usually comic book style is very, it's not very 3D, if you know what I mean. It's very 2D, like the shadows in comics are very flat. They're never in gradients or anything like the way I draw. But one thing that's good is female anatomy there is very accentuated, you know, and if you look at a lot of pictures, you'll eventually get an idea of how to properly draw a female. It won't look realistic, but it'll definitely look good, and that's the whole idea. It doesn't have to look completely realistic. It just has to look hot. So big tits and big ass, narrow waist, wide hips, basically the most basic female traits, but accentuated. That's just like with males who have large muscles, you know, there are certain features about the female that make them more attractive and more pleasant to the eye. The easiest thing about females is that you don't have to actually detail any of the muscles. That's such a relief, because you can draw them in a lot of positions and you don't have to worry about how the muscles flex and tense and move and whatever, because female forms in drawing are supposed to be very soft. They're supposed to be very curvy and not hard like, you know, Hulk or Bane or whatever, you know, any sort of massive muscular hero. You know, you have to detail every single fiber of muscle and every vein. That's something you don't have to do with females, thankfully. So what I'm doing now is I'm just detailing her stomach, just very, very light shade, just outlining the six-pack that everyone has. But it's extremely light. It's just to not make it look completely flat. And right now I'm working on her hood. I should have went with the comic book instructional books and DVDs have a lot on how to draw female faces. And again, one thing that's great about this particular style is that it applies to other types of drawing as well, also to realism. They get a very good idea of how to draw a good-looking female face. But I, being the stubborn ass that I am, did not learn from any book, and instead I decided to do my own version of a female face. And it almost drove me insane, because I was already drawing like for 1 hour when I got to the point where I was making the face. So after 1 hour, as I've said before, you tend to not notice things anymore. So I drew one of her eyes, and you'll see in a second. I drew one of her eyes, and then the second one, which was supposed to be in perspective because her head is slightly tilted to the side. It just did not look right, the one that I'm doing now. It just didn't look right, and I couldn't put my finger on it. There was something wrong with her face. Now that I'm looking at it, I can clearly see what's wrong. But before I couldn't. And I sat there, and I erased it, and I redrew it, and I erased it, over and over again. And the worst part about that is the pencil that I'm using it's not really erasable, because it's made of the same material as colored pencils. So you can never really erase those. They always leave a shade behind. And the paper is also very thin. So if you keep erasing over and over and over again, it'll eventually rip through it. And I got so scared at a certain point because I thought I had completely destroyed the drawing. I had erased her left eye like 7 times already. As you see there, I'm like moving the notepad, trying to turn it around, flip it, look at it from the front, and just to see what the hell is wrong with the face. But eventually I managed to save it. I think that if I had erased it once or twice more, I would have went through the paper, but Lady Luck was with me on this one, so I managed to save it. And she looks pretty good. I gave her a very slutty appearance, as you can see. I totally skipped out on the bow and the arrows and their swords. I didn't care about all that. It's like big boobs and narrow waist. That's what it's about. Anyway, thank you for watching, and please visit my channel for other videos that are not on Total Halibut's channel, if that's where you're watching this. And subscribe, and thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.